If you need some extra ideas on how you can engage your class in activities and lessons this holiday season, I have you covered. I'm going to start with a fun activity that I created myself as an elementary education teacher, and then I will share some other ideas towards the end of the video. The first activity that I'm going to talk about that I created is called Rudy the Elf and Santa Letters. The goal of this lesson is to get students to want to write Santa letters and also be specific about friendly letters and what elements we should include in letters. The lesson is going to start out with a colorful story time about Rudy the Elf. I'm not going to give away everything, but basically there's a story leading up to why Rudy is going to visit their classroom and why his job is to get the Santa letters and make sure that they are delivered to the North Pole and Santa. If you don't want to watch the colorful story time with the link, you are more than welcome to just have Rudy the Elf handouts. They can read these in partners or alone, and you can just read the story together. But basically, Rudy's job is to ensure that all elements are included in the Santa letters and make sure he delivers them to Santa himself. Rudy is also kind enough and he provides the students with a small checklist that they can use once they are writing their Santa letters. The checklist is just to help students as a guide to ensure that they're including all of the elements, such as what they want from Santa and why they want that specific gift. After you do the story time of Rudy, you get the backstory. The students can be more engaged and they have a more specific goal on these Santa letters. Really, their goal is to help Rudy show Santa that he can actually do this job of delivering all of the Santa letters to the North Pole. Then Rudy writes a specific letter to your class describing again what his goal is with the Santa letters and what the students need to provide in their Santa letters. What you do from here is your choice, but if it were me, I would first then have my students sit down and either do some brainstorming, talk with a partner, and write a rough draft about what they want to write to Santa. This is where I would give them the checklist as well. The checklist will help guide their writing. Then once their rough draft is completed, you can have them look at the checklist. They're going to check mark that they have all of the elements. And again, this is to help them ensure that they have all of those missing pieces before they even give you the rough draft. Another thing I included in this lesson that I think is extremely important is a student sample. So you will also be provided in this pack a student sample that you can read out loud to the class. As a first year teacher, of course, I didn't have student samples. And as I continue teaching, I would throughout the years have student samples. And so I'd hold on to those. So I provided you a student sample in case this is your first time doing this activity, or you don't have time to write a student sample. Sometimes I was so busy. So I really want to make this whole activity as simple as possible for you as a teacher. Of course, once the student turns in their rough draft to you just on a lined piece of paper, they have their checklist that they check marked. They had all the elements. You of course can edit the paper and they can then write their final draft. Within this whole activity, I also provided final Santa letters that were in color, since color is kind of fun, or black and white options, because when I was a teacher, we could not print in color. So of course, if you can only print in black and white, I have you covered. Another option on the colored and the black and white options, I did give sentence starters. So let's say we have a lower kiddo in our class who needs those sentence starters when they're writing a rough draft or their final. That is also included in there. When I told my students we were writing Santa letters, there wasn't a buy-in.
Like, why do I want to write Santa a letter?
I did teach 4th and 5th grade. So I can say with 5th graders, this still could be a fun activity. And even 4th, I would go down even to 2nd or 3rd grade with this activity, since you also have those sentence starters. Sentence starters are also a great way to encourage your ESL students and your lower learners to also have a way that they can write their rough draft. They still feel a part of the class and the activity. So because we want students to have some type of buy-in to why are they writing Santa letters, their goal is to help Rudy the Elf deliver these Santa letters to Santa, and you're also giving them specific elements to include in the friendly letter that Rudy has provided. If you are interested in this specific activity, I will have the link in the description. It is a Teachers Pay Teachers item. I spent quite a bit of time on it. I hope you like it, but I'm always open to feedback. I'm always learning as I grow and continue making more resources. The second activity I want to discuss with you today is having my students watch a Christmas movie, but during that Christmas movie, they are working on a flat book or they have some type of task that they're doing while they are watching the movie. As always, make sure the movie is approved by your principal or your district, and I also sent out permission letters ahead of time to make sure that the movie was also approved by the parents. I never had a year where a parent denied the movie, but just in case, I did talk to another teacher who was doing something else, and we always made sure that if that was a possibility, I could send my student to her classroom or the counselor's office or the office or however it worked out so that student can still do something, but they weren't watching the movie if it was not approved. For the most part, this activity is fairly easy to do within your classroom. You just probably need to print out some stuff. Again, I'll find some stuff on Teacher Pay Teachers that I have purchased in the past that I actually really enjoyed to use with my class. And again, these can be very simple. If you don't want to purchase anything, you can always just write on the board. Your job during this movie is to write main character, solution, problem, whatever you are working on in your classroom in your reading curriculum. The last activity to do with your class that I always did and really enjoyed is a book exchange. This was usually done during the holiday party. Some students would not be at our holiday party, so they did not have to bring in a book to exchange, but if they wanted to, they were more than welcome to, and then we would just keep a book aside for them for when they came back. The book exchange can be used books or new ones. I wasn't picky. If you have a used book that you really love, and obviously it's still together so the other student can actually read all the way through, then they were more than welcome to bring a used book. So how it goes is the students are asked to wrap the book however they may like, and then they're going to put from Susan. That's it, because they don't know who's going to get the book yet. And then once the books are all brought in, hopefully by the holiday party, I would then label the books 1 through 25 or however many students there are. Then the students who were responsible and I trusted would want to come in and help. So what they would do is they would put 1 through 25 on all of the books, and then we would on a piece of paper put 1 through 25 and put those in a bowl. And then when we do the book exchange, obviously they pick a random number. Let's say they pick 2. You're going to find book number 2 and they get book number 2. Obviously, if they pick their own book, they can just pick a different number out of the bowl. My students always really enjoyed this activity, and they were always really excited to see what they actually got. So on our holiday party, we always had pajama day, and after a book exchange, if they exchanged a book with somebody else and they were excited to read it, we did silent reading, and this worked out really well because they were really excited to get into their new book. Keep in mind, some students may not bring a book, so I would often go to local thrift stores and I would ask them if they had any books to donate to my classroom. Even social media, I'd post, does anyone have any extra books to donate? That way, if a student did not bring a book, it's no big deal because you can give them some books to choose from that they can do for the book exchange. Those were the 3 activities I wanted to share with you today. If I was still teaching, I definitely would do the book exchange again. I will say it was one of the fun memories I have as a teacher during our holiday party. I know as a former teacher, sometimes I'd get overwhelmed that was I doing enough for my class? I'd see other teachers who were doing these amazing, outstanding lessons, and I would say, I'm not doing enough. There's something else I should be doing. But I will say even the most simple activities and lessons my students would be really excited about if it's just something different, something extra. I know I see teachers online, they do like a cocoa bar and they did Who Stole Santa's Hat, and they have all of these things, and that's great. And if that works for you in your classroom, go for it. But if you feel overwhelmed, you feel a little burnt out, it's almost Christmas break, really just try the most simple things you can with your class because it's still a little different. It's still something you don't do every day. I promise they're still gonna have a good time, and it's all about how you present it. A lot of times I would hype up something for a week in advance, like we're gonna do haunted house escape room, right? And I would build this up and build this up, but really it was just a really simple activity, but they were really excited by the time it came around. If you decide to do Rudy the Elf, how I would do it a week in advance, just tell the students, you guys, I'm so excited. Rudy the Elf from the North Pole is coming to deliver a letter to us, but we can't talk about it until the letter is here. I don't know yet what it's going to say, right? There's so many different ways how you can build on an activity. Don't feel overwhelmed. Don't feel stressed. Just go with the flow. Go with what makes you feel good about your teaching. Just because you download something off Teachers Pay Teachers, you are welcome to change it a little bit. You are welcome to say, on this, it says we have to do part 3. We're not going to do part 3. That's okay. Well, I hope that this was all very helpful. As always, please give me feedback. I'm still learning and growing. And I do hope that you have a beautiful holiday season and you enjoy this holiday season with your class. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss on other activities that I have planned coming up for the next seasons. Thank you for watching, and I appreciate everyone who supports my channel.